Good day, everyone. My name is Gabato from BSBA 2E, and I will be discussing communication in organization. We define organizational communication as the sending and receiving of messages among unrelated individuals within a particular environment or setting to achieve individual and common goals. Organizational communication is highly contextual and culturally dependent. Individuals and organizations transmit messages through face to face, written, and mediated channels. We have here organizational communication help us to accomplish tasks, acclimate to changes, complete tasks, develop relationship, coordinate, plan, and control. The first one is accomplish tasks. Accomplish tasks relating to specific roles and responsibilities of sales, services, and production. The second one is acclimate to change. This is through individual and organizational creativity and adaptation. The third one is complete task through the maintenance of policy, procedures, or regulations that support daily and continuous operations. The fourth one is to develop relationships wherein human messages are directed at people within the organization, their attitudes, moral, satisfactions, and fulfillment. The number five is coordinate, plan, and control. The operation of the organization through management. Organizational communication is how organizations represent, present, and constitute their organizational climate and cultural to the attitudes, values, and goals that characterize the organizational and its member. Organizational communication largely focuses on building relationships and interacting with internal organizational members and interested external publics. Here are the importance of communication in an organization can be summarized as follows. Number 1, communication promotes motivation. Number 2, communication is a source of information. Number 3, communication also plays a crucial role in altering individuals' attitudes. Number 4, communication also helps in socializing. And lastly, number 5, communication also assists in controlling the process. An effective and efficient communication system requires managerial proficiency in delivering and receiving messages. A manager must discover various barriers to communication, analyze the reasons for their occurrence, and take preventive steps to avoid those barriers. Thus, the primary responsibility of a manager is to develop and maintain an effective communication system in the organization. Here are the types of communication and organization. Well, communication is a very important part of any organization. It takes place among business entities within markets, various groups of employees, buyers and sellers, service providers and clients, salesperson, and prospective buyers, and within the organization and with the press. Well, communication can be internal, external, upward, downward, formal, informal, lateral, interactive, mass, or grapevine. The first one is internal communication. Internal communication takes place within the organization or group among people among different groups of employees and within employers and employees. It could be oral or written, visual or audiovisual, formal or informal, and upward or downward. Internal communication serves to inform, instruct, educate, develop, motivate, persuade, entertain, direct, control and caution people in the organization. The second one is external communication. Unlike internal communication, external communication flows outward. It addresses people outside the organizations, like the prospective customers, competitors, public, press, media, and the government. External communication can take place in various ways of through different channels: letters, notices, brochures, demonstrations, telephone calls, business meetings, press releases, press conference, audiovisual presentations, publicity films, product launch events, and advertisements are all examples of external communication. It is important to note that the external agency or person targeted through communication quite often forms an image or impression based on such communication, and it is. The third one is upward communication. Large organizations have different hierarchical levels or tiers. Banks, finance companies, insurance businesses, railways, and such other people-oriented organizations have typically a three-tier or four-tier structure. The process of communication to be complete and effective should encompass all these levels and tiers. Upward communication is one which moves upward from bottom to top levels in the hierarchy. Any communication that moves from employees to supervisors, supervisors to managers, managers to executives, regional manager to general managers, and so on, may be categorized as upward communication. Similarly, communication from branches to regional offices to zonal offices to head office is referred to as upward communication. Employee suggestions, market reports, performance reports, feedback on new products, and requests for facilities or instructions are all examples of upward communication in the organizational context. Downward communication moves from the top to the bottom, from the CEO downwards. It travels through senior executives to junior level functionaries, from the controlling office to the branch, from the head of the division to the head of the unit, corporate goals, business priorities, motivational letters, work related instructions, newsletters, letters from the CEO or the general manager's desk are all typical examples of downward communication. Number 5 is the formal communication. Towards ensuring communication on an ongoing basis, organizations develop formal systems. Staff meetings, union management meetings, branch manager, conferences, periodical sales review meetings, and customers meets are examples of forums that facilitates formal communication. Formal communication generally follows a well-defined hierarchical pattern and periodicity. The number 6 is informal communication. This type of communication takes place in an unstructured manner and outside the formal forum. There is an element of spontaneity in this communication. Informal communication works well in similar, loosely knit organizations. It is used more often in situations where there are no rigid, hierarchical tiers. The number 7 is the lateral communication. Lateral communication generally takes place in an organization and is neither upward or downward. It proceeds in a horizontal manner and takes place among equals and peer level. It may also be described as peer level communication. Any communication that takes place orally or in writing from one branch head to the other from one division head to the other, from one group head to the other may be described as lateral communication. Number 8 is the interactive communication. Interactive communication is essentially a two-way process. It takes place through meetings, conferences, teleconferencing, multimedia presentation, group discussions, and other such active two-way exchanges. Interactive communication is most appropriate when the message or subject is to be presented at length. The number 9 is the mass communication. Mass communication is distinctive in view of its scale. Essentially, it addresses a large mass of people. Public speaking, newspapers, magazines and journals, radio, televisions, dot-coms, etc. are channels of mass communication. Mass communication has developed into a specialized area of study. If each of these areas or channels calls for distinct skills by its very nature. Mass communication addresses a vast, well spread out, and heterogeneous group of people, and as such, special efforts will have to be made to sustain their interest and achieve the desired response. Number 10, the last one, is the grapevine. Grapevine is a kind of informal communication that prevails in organization and businesses. The source of such communication may not be clear. It spreads by the way of gossip and rumors. It travels through informal networks and quite often travels faster than the formal messages. Sometimes it gets more powerful and becomes more receptive than formal communication. Communication in organizations encompasses all the means, both formal and informal, by which information is passed up, down, and across the network of managers and employees in a business. These various modes of communication may be used to disseminate official information between employees and management, to exchange hearsay and rumors, or anything in between. The challenge for businesses is to channel these myriad communications so they serve to improve customer relations, bolster employee satisfaction, build knowledge sharing throughout the organization, and most importantly, enhance the firm's competitiveness. The effective versus ineffective communications. Perhaps the importance of good communication is best understood by considering what things would be like in its absence. For instance, if a company has no mechanism for recording and transmitting special order requests from its customers, and employees in the sales and fulfillment areas only interact minimally, there's a good chance that when it receives a special request to the company will have difficulty delivering what the customers wants. It may even lose the sale as employees grapple with an unusual request the management hasn't prepared them for. As a final example of poor communication, imagine a business with a large young workforce that is highly trained. However, the company is very hierarchical and premium is placed on seniority over originality and other employee traits. A few younger employees have approached management with a new business idea, but their immediate supervisors haven't taken the proposal seriously, and upper management is largely inaccessible to these employees. As a result, the small group decides to leave the company and start their own firm, which grows quickly and proves to be incredibly profitable. If this scenario seems rather predictable, or some are based loosely on real events, they serve to illustrate obvious communication gaps and missteps businesses must surpass. must surmount. So, here is how to improve your communication skills in the workplace or in the organization. Here are some pointers to look out for when looking to improve your ability to effectively communicate with others. The first one is listening. To become a good communicator, it is important to be a good listener. It is important to practice active listening, pay close attention to what others are saying, and clarify ambiguities by rephrasing their questions for greater understanding. Number two is conciseness. Convey your message in as few words as possible. Do not use filler words and get straight to the point. Rumbling will cause the listener to tune out or be unsure of what you are talking about. Avoid speaking excessively and do not use words that may confuse the audience. Number three is body language. It is important to practice good body language. Use eye contact, utilize hand gestures, and watch the tone of the voice when communicating with others. A relaxed body stance with a friendly tone will aid in making you look approachable by others. Remember that eye contact is important in communication. Look the person in the eye to indicate that you are focused on the conversation, but make sure to not stare at the person as it can make him or her uncomfortable. Number four is confidence. Be confident in what you say in your communication interactions with others. Being confident can be as easy as maintaining eye contact, maintaining a relaxed body stance, and talking with concision. Try not to make statements sound like questions and avoid trying to sound aggressive or demanding. Number five is open-mindedness. In situations where you disagree with what someone else has to say, whether it be with an employer, a coworker, or a friend, it is important to sympathize with their point of view rather than simply try to get your message across. Respect the opinion of others and never resort to demeaning those who do not agree with you. Number six is respect. Respecting what others have to say and acknowledging them is an important aspect of communication. Being respectful can be as simple as paying attention to what they have to say, using the person's name, and not being distracted. By respecting others, the other person will feel appreciated, which will lead to a more honest and productive conversation. The lastly is using the correct medium. There are several different forms of communication to use. It is important to choose the right one. For example, communicating in person about serious matters like layoffs, salary changes, etc., it is more appropriate than sending an email regarding the matter.